Hello everyone, I'm Better Reading. I was just fiddling with my fancy light, which I'm not good at technology, so I turned it off. Welcome. I'm just going to make sure that I can see any comments. I'm Rachael Johns. Sorry, I should probably introduce myself, even though it says Live with Rachael Johns. I'm the author of Outback Secrets. This is my latest book. It's my 10th rural romance novel. And can someone say hello if they're there? Because last night I did one of these things and yay, hi Tracy, thank you. The comments didn't come up and I was a little bit confused about whether it was working, but it is, so thank you. And massive thanks to Better Reading for inviting me to come and chat with you guys today. It's lunchtime, I'm guessing, where most of you are on the east. Well, no, that's an assumption I shouldn't make because I'm in WA and Better Reading is all over Australia, I'm sure. So yeah, let me know where you are, what time it is where you are, and maybe we even have some New Zealand readers watching. Lots of familiar faces. Hi Jasmine, hi Meredith, hi Debbie, hi Kathy, Yvonne, Joe, Kerry. Oh, Kerry's from Busselton. I love Busselton. It's for anyone who doesn't know, Busselton is about 3 hours south of Perth, where I live. Sorry, I'm just checking my earrings there. And it's beautiful down there. And Tasmina, hopefully I've pronounced that right, is from Armidale in New South Wales. Why am I reading Western Australia? Hi Lee. I've never been to Armidale, but I do love lots of places in New South Wales. So hopefully I'll get there for an event one day. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions as I go. I'm an open book. Sometimes more than I should be. And I'm happy to talk about the writing of my latest book, Outback Secrets, any of my other books. I'm also happy to talk about, what you're reading, whatever. Ask me any questions and I'll answer them as we go. So as I said, I'm Rachael Johns. I'm an author of 10 rural romance novels. They're pretty much self-explanatory. They're romance novels, which kind of explains what it is, set in rural communities in Australia. I myself have lived in small country towns for a quarter of my life. So all my childhood and adolescence was in cities, in Sydney and Perth. And then when I was 25, I think, yeah, that's right, I moved to the small town of Kojonup in Western Australia, which is about 3 hours south as well, but it's inland, whereas Busselton is on the coast. And I moved there because my husband got a job as the supermarket manager of the co-op there. The co-op was, Marlene is from Vermont in South Victoria. Cool, hello. I moved to Koji because my husband got a job as a supermarket manager, but until that time, I had never lived in a rural community in my life. So I call myself now a converted country girl. Sadly, I'm back living in Perth at the moment, but I do hope we get back to the country one of these days. My husband is actually living 12 hours north. He lives in Newman, which is in the Pilbara of Western Australia, because he's now up there working and on a 2-year contract. So we still have a bit of, countryness around, and I still go back. The other town I lived in was Goomalling, which is in the wheat belt of Western Australia. We owned a little IGA supermarket there for 5 years. Absolutely love both Kojonup and Goomalling and my time in those towns. And I still go back once a month. I know you guys will appreciate this because you're all readers. I still go back once a month to Goomalling if I can. Life's busy. I get there probably 10 out of 12 months a year. And I go to book club in Goomalling. I started going to a book club in Goomalling probably about a year before I left with a bunch of friends there. And some people I didn't really know that well at the time decided that we were going to start a book club. And I had always wanted to be a member of a book club. There were plenty in Kojonup, but I was never invited to join one of those ones. And so I was super excited and I still love it. Let me know if you're a member of a book club. And just a quick heads up, Better Reading has put in their comments section that the wonderful folks at Better Reading do now have a facility online where you can purchase books. So you can go to their website and you can click the links to purchase Outback Secrets, which I'll talk about, in a moment. But yeah, let me know if you're in a book club. As I said, when I first went to Kojonup, this is why I write rural romance, because I lived as an outsider, I guess. If anyone has lived in a small town, you know that you're not a local there until unless you've been born there, or you've lived there, 37 years. And technically, I don't even know if you're a local in a small town just because you've been born there. Because say I had 2 kids born in Kojonup. I'm not sure they'd be considered locals. But Tracy said, I'm hoping this won't be the last in the series, and this might be a spoiler, but do you have any idea who Campbell might be matched with? I'll answer that quickly, and then I probably should talk a little bit about the book. But I was just sort of explaining my rural background. But I'll answer this quick question first. So Campbell, for anyone who hasn't read the book yet, and this is not a spoiler at all, Campbell is a very small very minor character in this book. He is a pastor at the church, and this book is set at Christmas time. I wanted to write a rural romance Christmas novel. It's not a huge element, but it's a part of it because I've noticed over the last few years there's so many Christmas books coming out. Everyone loves a Christmas movie, and Christmas books are sort of in the same vein. But usually we're getting Christmas books that are set overseas in, the Northern Hemisphere where it's cold and, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to write an Aussie rural Christmas. I have written Christmas in my books before, but this was sort of the focus of this book. I wanted to be a little bit more. So I wanted your classic one character who really is not in the mood for Christmas. And that's Liam. Although, as it turns out, because I'm not much of a plotter when I write. I am getting to your question, Tracy, I promise. I'm not much of a plotter. And so, I started with the idea that one character would be quite anti-Christmas for reasons. But in the end, neither of these characters are both a little prickly in both their ways. They're both very lovable. And neither of them are particularly gung-ho about Christmas, although Henry Etta Forward, who is the heroine, she's not actually anti-Christmas, but Liam kind of is. Anyway, so Campbell is a very small character. Now, this is the 5th book in my Bunyip Bay trilogy. Let's just think about that for a moment. I am not good at maths, but I'm also not good at planning, as we have said. So when I decided to write my first book in the Bunyip Bay series, which is Outback Dreams, here's one I prepared earlier, I had an idea for 3 loosely linked books. The first 3 books are quite linked. There's a mystery that runs through Outback Dreams, Outback Blaze, and Outback Ghost. And actually, Outback Blaze and Outback Ghost have a bit of a crime element. Sorry, I'm putting on the right side of the screen. And I really enjoyed writing that, but it wasn't something that I particularly, I didn't set out to write a crime novel, but the mystery is quite strong in Outback Ghost. And I had that mystery seeded from Outback Dreams, but I always planned just 3 books in the series. And then I put the series out. And the reason I wrote a series, I should, go back a little bit maybe, is let me know, I know that a lot of people that are watching this are probably rural romance readers, but does anyone read, in the wider romance genre, like other contemporary genres of romance or historical romance or romance books from overseas authors? I used to read a lot of, I still do, I read quite widely, but at the time when I was writing or coming up with my next idea that was Outback Dreams, I was reading a lot of American contemporary romance. And I noticed that lots of the books were set in series. Particularly now, many people will know Robin Carr's Virgin River. If you hadn't read the books before, you may have seen the Netflix series. There's another one, what is it? Sweet Magnolias. Janet Adamovich has a long-running series, and that is just 3 of millions. So I decided I would like to write a rural romance series, but it was only going to be 3 books. And then people loved it way more than I could ever have imagined. So thank you to everyone who read those books and, wanted more. And so I wrote Outback Sisters, thinking that was going to be the last and final book in the series. And Outback Sisters is about this is a fun book to write. It was a challenging book to write. I like to do, I like to set myself a challenge sort of in each book. Some is more specific and thought about than others, but I like to, keep sort of developing my writing muscles, I suppose. And this book is not just one romance, but it's 2 romances. So there's 2 heroes and 2 heroines. And So that was, I wrote that book because there'd been sisters in previous books mentioned who are cousins of one of the main characters, and I hadn't really told much of their story, and I thought they're perfect. They're basically, didn't plan it, but they were begging for their own story, and that one was really fun to write, and I thought that was it. But then people still wanted more and more and more, and it's been quite a few years since I wrote the last book in the Bunyip Bay series. I do just want to say quickly now, Meredith says she loves Virgin River on Netflix, and Lee loves crime, mystery-based romance. So your previous books sound fabulous. I really love reading crime, mystery, romance too. Probably romance and crime are my favorite two genres, and women's fiction, which I do write that as well. You can see some of the books behind. So relationship stories where the focus is not necessarily romance, the focus is family, siblings, friends, sometimes strangers. But yeah, I love crime books and I love romance. So if you can combine them together, it's perfect. So, people are often asking, would I write another series? And maybe that's something I would love to think about doing, light crime with romance. But I'm still trying to answer Tracy's question. Sorry. So then I kept thinking I would like to write a Christmas book, as I said, in Bunyip Bay. And people kept asking for more Bunyip Bay. And the only real character that I could think of was Liam from the pub. Now, this is Liam's story. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a sec. But Liam has appeared in all of my Bunyip Bay books as a minor character. And luckily, as I said, I'm not much of a planner. And I think if you're going to write a romance or any series, it's probably a good idea to do a bit of planning. I've learned that in hindsight. But if you're not going to plan, then I think the best thing to do is say very little about the secondary characters so that you can pluck any of them out and sort of shape a story. And luckily, that's what I'd done with Liam. He'd appeared in all of the books because he's the publican and everyone goes to the pub for, dinner and drinks and to celebrate things and all that kind of stuff, like the hub of the community in Bunyip Bay. And I am fascinated with country pubs. So, writing a book set in a pub was not a hardship at all. And so I thought he's the obvious character. And all I'd said about him was that he ran the pub, that he had a dog. His dog features and has puppies, I think, in Outback Blaze. And the other thing I said, so quite useful for a rural romance hero, was that he was quite good looking. He actually models in the town does a fundraiser every year called the Undies Run, which features a lot in Outback Blaze. And they grab some of the young eligible men to do a photo shoot to sort of advertise the charity event. And he was one of them. So the good thing was I hadn't said much about him. So that means I could make up him completely. So I'm getting to final thing about Tracy's question, and then I'll get into the story. So the Campbell I seeded in this time. I also seeded in another couple of characters because I've said for the last few years when people have asked me, will I write another Bunyip Bay? Never say never. And as I was writing this book, and it was a near-death experience writing it, a friend of mine gave me that term, and she said, sounds like it was a near-death experience. I said, oh my gosh, yes, that is exactly what it was. And we may get to talking about that. But I thought definitely this is the end. But now that the book is birthed, it's a bit like having a child, the actual experience of pregnancy and labor can be traumatic, but once you've got the cute little baby, although I've got teenagers now, so it's different, but once you've got the cute little baby, you're like, oh, maybe I could do that again. And so never say never to me returning to Bunyip Bay, but even as I was writing it, I guess I had this in my head because I thought I'm going to seed some characters. So there's Campbell, who's the pastor. There is new pastor in town, young. There is Mark, somebody who is a returned AFL sort of player who's come back to farm the family farm. I did actually, there's somebody else I'm sure as well, and I did in the original draft have a female plumber. I think her name was Sam, but I don't think she made the edit cut. But she may, if she's still in my head. So because I love sort of writing about characters that have different careers. So not that a plumber is a different career, but still there's relatively few female plumbers. So I thought that would be something I'd love to explore. I'm just going to see if there's any more questions that I'll answer before I explain about the book. Jasmine said, which character is your favourite in Outback Secrets? In Outback Secrets, okay, there's a character. someone asked me yesterday, which is my favorite character overall, and I can definitely of the series, and I can definitely say that. I should also say you can completely read Outback Secrets as a standalone. I made sure that that was the case. But I'll answer your question quickly first. So favorite character would probably be someone who features in the pub all the time. He is one of those characters that I'm reluctant to stereotype him, but I kind of did in the book. His name's Sexy Rexy, and he basically goes to the pub every night for a few drinks and doesn't really have any family or friends. He runs the town tip. So he calls himself, I can't remember, he gives himself a fancy name for running the tip. And he's a bit, scared of the heroine at first and any women who speak to him. But he's kind of a really good soul. I'd say he's, late 50s possibly. And he's had some trauma in his life. And his name's Rex, but everyone calls him Sexy Rexy because he's completely not sexy. I actually got this idea, but he became a really fun character to write. And I initially got the idea. I was with my friend Anthea Hodgson, who many of you who follow my online book club that I do with Anthea know. She's a rural romance author herself, and we were on a bit of a writing retreat. And she used to live in a small town called Yearling in the wheat belt of Western Australia. And yeah, she mentioned, I don't know if I should be saying this in public. Oh, well, I told you I say anything. She mentioned that one pub that she had known in the country, there was a character called Sexy Rexy. And I said, I'm stealing that. That's hilarious. And at that stage, I was looking for sort of people to be in the pub, not main characters, but just, those characters that are kind of always there. And so I put Sexy Rexy in the book. And because I liked him, I kept putting him in scenes, but I didn't really know why. I was like, you have to you can't just randomly put people in books. There needs to be a reason, kind of. Otherwise, yeah. Anyway, so, but I persisted. Now, I believe there's an element of magic in writing. And if you kind of just let yourself learn the characters as the characters tell you a story, you kind of get to know them as you write. That's how I do it. And it's not just the characters, but the plot. It takes shape as I go, and I have a vague idea of what I want to do, but often things will happen in a plot that I think, or I'll write, and I'll think, this is stupid. It's one of those days where I'm thinking, okay, I've written 500 words, and really, it probably was a waste of time, but I've learned not to cut anything until I'm finished. And I really, really wanted Sexy Rexy to be there, but at the same time, I was kind of thinking, what's the point of him? There's a small mystery element in Outback Secrets. And I'm not going to say what it is because it's a big spoiler, but it's about Liam's secret. And right near the end of the book, I've got a crit partner who reads all my books, another author called Beck Nicholas. And she'd been reading along as I was writing, and suddenly she said to me, because I wasn't sure how the mystery and the secret was going to be revealed to the reader, and she suddenly said, what if Sexy Rexy could be involved in that? And I was like, I don't want to say any more because it's a bit of a spoiler. But I was like, oh, that is perfect. So I'm so glad that I persisted with him. And that's, I think, I didn't come to that conclusion myself, but maybe I would have if I just kept writing, because there's so many times in my writing life where I have written things in a book. I'm not really sure why it's there, but then it all fits together later. So I really believe that your subconscious knows more than, you do. And if you just got to go with it. So did I answer that question? So my favorite character is Sexy Rexy. Anyway, I'm just going to see if there's any more questions. Oh, Lee says, laughing in response to what does a considered to be a local in a small town? Yes. Although I should say that Kojonup, I love Kojonup. I love the people there. It did take me quite a few years to feel that way. I was there for probably 3 years before I felt like at home. And it happened quicker in Goomalling because I think we owned the store. So we were kind of, people knew us. But what I was going to say about Kojonup is that they did claim me when I first got published, even though I'd moved to Goomalling. When things happened at the library, I went to Kojonup Library to do an event, and they put an article in the paper, the local rag, and they're like, Kojonup's own Rachael Johns. So, you either have to be born there, you have to have lived there 37 years, or you have to do something that makes them kind of proud. Okay, I'm just going to read a few comments and then I'll actually talk about the book. Meredith said, can I read your latest book without starting the others? Definitely. So I will explain a bit about Outback Secrets and what it's about because, rambled on for 20 minutes already. But when I wrote Outback Secrets, yes, I wrote it because I knew that people wanted more in the Bunyip Bay series. Each of the books in the series are specifically about two people, except Outback Sisters, which is 4. And so, each book is a standalone, even those that link through the first 3. But Outback Sisters and Outback Secrets are completely standalone. You do not have to have read any of the others to read them. And as I was writing Outback Secrets particularly, I wanted to make sure I gave glimpses of previous characters so that my readers who wanted to know because when people say they want more, what they're really saying is they want to know who stayed together, who got married, who had a baby, all that sort of stuff. So I made sure that I gave glimpses of the previous characters, enough that people who had been in the world before and knew the characters felt, happy about that. But then I also, didn't go over the top with that. And, I even pulled back a little bit in the editing under advice from my publisher to make sure that, you could read this book without it. So what is it about? So Outback Secrets is set, as I said, in Bunyip Bay, which is a fictional community in Western Australia, about 4 hours north of Perth. There's a little bit of so when I first titled the first books, Outback Dreams, Outback Blaze, and Outback Ghost, Bunyip Bay is not outback by any means. It is on the coast, hence the bay. And I chose to write a book after writing 2 rural romances that were very much rural country, nowhere near the coast. I decided that I'd like to have a rural community that was kind of coastal as well, so that possibly, and there's ideas for other books maybe, possibly I could have a fisherman or fisherwoman characters down the track, and I could look at the coast, what goes on the coast and the seaside of it, rather as well as the rural. But I also, I love my rural communities and I really wanted to still have the farmers and all that kind of stuff. So that was why I chose to set it in a place where, as Liam or Henry says in this book, Bunyip Bay is perfect because it's got the coast on one side and reasonably good farming land on the other. So it's set in the fictional town of Bunyip Bay. As we've already said, Liam is the publican. He's been there 10 years. And the reason I love writing about pubs, and I think a publican character is great. It's great for fiction, is because publicans, bartenders, hairdressers, they know everything about everybody because people are loose-lipped in the pub when they've had too much to drink, and when you're getting your hair done, you're all unrelaxed. People talk. So I think it's great. And so when I decided to write the character of Liam, the first thing that came into my head was the title, and that was help for my readers. I asked for suggestions for another Outback title, and one of them that came up frequently was Outback Secrets, and I thought that's perfect because who knows all the secrets? The publican. And then a line came into my head, and it was, Liam the publican of Bunyip Bay knows the secrets of everyone in town, but no one knows his secret. The only problem was I didn't know the secret either, so I had to work that out. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but he's the type of character who is part of the town, but also removed. He keeps himself distant from people. He doesn't get really, really close. He helps out people and he's friendly, but he doesn't get really close because of what's happened in his past, which I won't say. And I mentioned earlier, this was a near-death experience writing this book. And it was because I wrote 65,000 words of 2 different heroines before I decided on Henrietta Forward. So I really struggled to find the right person for Liam. And there was a number of reasons why, which, because we're running out of time, I won't go into. But I finally ended up with Henrietta Forward, who is an agricultural pilot, come home to Bunyip Bay for Christmas. A little bit earlier, though, because she had an incident in the air that has kind of knocked her confidence. And, she loves her job. She travels around Australia, a world, and flying is her life. And so she kind of thinks, if I can't fly, who even am I? But apart from that, she comes home to her mother and her friend and her sister, who are kind of like, okay, maybe it's time for you to settle down, stop your flying around the world and, actually get a safer job. Because in my research, I did learn that, agricultural flying is one of the most dangerous professions. It counts for a number of, way more deaths in occupation than a lot of other jobs I don't want to quote the exact statistic, but it's dangerous. And her mum is worried about that. And so the whole idea of this book is it's a fake relationship story. If you love your romances and you love your romance tropes, that's what this one is. You know, it's like books like The Proposal. I mean, movies like The Proposal, Green Card, had lots on my mind before, but where two people decide to pretend to be in a relationship sort of for whatever reason. And their reason in this book is to get Henry's family and friends off her back. Liam, for his own reasons, decides to go along with it. And of course, in the process, she ends up staying at the pub quite a lot, and they end up getting close. They end up sort of knocking down each other's walls and discovering each other's secrets. And yeah, that's, without saying too much, that's the idea of the story. Now, because we're running out of time, I'm just going to go through the comments quickly. Have I missed anything up? Tracy said there aren't enough Aussie Christmas stories. I completely agree, and that's why we need more. And I hope, you know, and this is not obviously Christmas, but in the book, you know, there's plenty of Christmas, I hope. Judy said, yes, I am with the Kyabram Town Hall Writers Group and we have a small book club. Oh, that's awesome. I don't know if I noticed anyone else saying they had a book club, but I'm sure they do. And if you're not in a book club and you'd love to join one, as I said, I've got an online book club on Facebook. It's just called Rachael Johns Online Book Club. And we read one book a month, but it's very casual. And there's about 4,000 members and it's such a great community. So if you want to join a book club, come and join us. Okay. And Marg says, love a great series when you're able to follow the characters through their lives from an early age. Oh, yeah. So like a series where the character stays the same throughout. Yeah, that's not where this is like, but, you know, you do get to see them grow in each of the books. Jessie said, hi, Rachel, I'm reading your book, Outback Secrets, and was excited to see the mention of geocaching as I was discovering what it's all about on Sunrise last month. Oh, I didn't know Sunrise did a feature on geocaching. Yes, for anyone who doesn't know, you can Google it, so I just won't say too much, but geocaching is where it's a treasure hunt, you know, around the world where people leave something small, you know, it's usually got a notebook, a pen, some trinkets and stuff in a box somewhere. You know, they're right out in the country, they're in the city, everywhere, and then you can go onto the website and you find one near you and it gives you the coordinates. Lucky my husband and kids do that. And then you go track it down and you take something from the box and you put something in there yourself, and it's just a lot of fun. So yes, there is geocaching in this book. Oh, Julie says, I love your books. Thank you, Julie. Tracy loved Sexy Rexy. Thank you. And his partner's secret was great. Excellent. Marge says, I loved your book, Flying the Nest. Recommended it to many friends. Thank you so much. There's nothing better than word of mouth recommendation. So if you do love a book, whether it's mine or anyone else's, that's the best thing you can do. Spread the word. And that's wonderful thing about Better Reading, because they're constantly spreading the word and they have such a great community here of people sharing their books. And yes, just a reminder again that, you know, they now also have the facility to go on their website and buy books. So if you do like a copy of Outback Secrets and you haven't got one yet, check that out. Okay. Sharon said, have really enjoyed this series. Can't wait to read Outback Secrets. Thank you, Sharon. Oh, and a question here. Love the covers. Do you have much input? I love this question because it's changed a little bit. I do have a more influence now than I did right in the beginning. And I'm sometimes put my foot down on certain things. One of my books, Lost Without You, it's a blue, beautiful cover with a flower, a vase of flowers. And it originally had 2 vases of flowers. And it really wasn't much about, I don't think there was anything about flowers in the book. The book is about a lost wedding dress and the hunt for it. And so I put my foot down and was like, I need a wedding dress on the front, because I believe books, you know, you want them, the covers should do a couple of things, a few things probably, but 2 things they really should do to me is tell you the type of book you're going to pick up. So that's why the rural romance covers, you know, always do have sort of a rural setting in the background, often a female or a male on the front with a hat. I always laugh that it's the city marketing the country in a way, and often the hats, you know, not necessarily what you'd see in the country, but, you know, they're appealing and they tell you exactly what you're getting. Same with, you know, certain, you can read other genres, you can just tell what they look like by the cover. And if you pick up a book and say you picked up this and it wasn't a rural romance, it was, I don't know, a thriller, you might be disappointed. So covers need to tell you what. And so I'm very happy with all my rural covers because they do tell you what. And the other thing I think they should do is pique your, whether it's through the title or the image, they should pique your interest and sort of make you want to pick it up and work and find out more about the story. So that's why I wanted the wedding dress in that one. We're almost out of time, I know. But yeah, I did with this one. It was one of those covers where I saw it immediately and I loved it. So we didn't have many changes. With Outback Sisters, which is on the front on the screen there. Originally there was just a male on the cover, and I was like, no, it's about sisters. The title is Sisters. There has to be sisters on the front. So, you know, we went back to the drawing board with that. So yeah, it's a collaboration between myself, my publisher, marketing, and, you know, even booksellers sometimes who give you their insight into what's selling at the moment. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check. They're gorgeous, aren't they? I was thinking the same thing. And Judy said, brilliant. Nothing like putting pressure on yourself to come up with a plot to match the line. Exactly. Although saying that, a lot of my books, I find if I have a title, probably half my books I've had the title when I've been writing, and half I've had to sort of come to it. And the ones where I've had a really strong title while I, you know, initially at the inspiration stage, they have actually been easier to write. Not this one though. Oh, my Judy said my son introduced me to your books. He's an Outback contract farmer. Oh, tell him thank you very much, and good on him for doing his work. And Joe, yours, Rachael Johns Book Club, is an awesome community with the loveliest readers. Thanks, Joe. I completely agree with you. Amelia said I'm halfway through How to Mend a Broken Heart. Oh, that was my last women's fiction. I hope you're loving it. That one's set in New Orleans, mostly, for anyone who, and it was a mother-daughter story, and it was such fun to write. And I think if anyone needs to travel vicariously at the moment, that's a good one to read. And Julie said, I'm a recent convert to your romance novels. Thanks to you. Love your books. Mwah! Thank you, Julie. Oh, Kathy said, you should send Hayden Quinn a copy of your books. Seeing the cover of the photo looks like him. Maybe. And Emma said the model on the front is super spunky. I agree. You know, and I'll finish with one thing about covers. People often ask, do you know the guys on the covers of your books? And I'll mostly say no, they're stock photos. And except for one cover, which was Talk of the Town, and who the guy on the front cover of Talk of the Town I do know. He used to be the finance director at my publisher. And if you're interested in the making of a cover, Google Talk of the Town cover making, or Rachael Johns, and you'll come up with a few YouTube videos about how that cover was made. And it's really interesting, but it also tells the story of why he is on the cover rather than stock photo. But most of the time, you know, we're looking for stock photos. And as it's hard to find the perfect man in real life, it's hard to find a perfect stock photo. And so, you know, it sounds like the perfect job, you know, scrolling through images of hot guys all day, trying to find the perfect one to go on the cover. But everyone has a different opinion on what's hot and what's not. So I think these cover meetings in the publishers get quite heated. Anyway, hi Beck, hi Michelle. I'm pretty sure Better Reading, my time is up. So if anyone has any last minute questions they want to ask, put them now. But if not, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along, watched this video, asked me awesome questions. I hope that if you haven't yet read any of my books, you might check out Outback Secrets. As we said, it's out now. You can buy it from Better Reading, and it's available everywhere, libraries. So I hope you enjoy it, and it gives you a bit of feel-good escape from some of the traumas of the world. And a massive thank you to Better Reading for having me again. Love your community and love everything you guys do for books and authors, especially Aussie authors. So thank you. Mwah!